Test, test, 1, 2, 3. Can you guys hear me? If I'm choppy or if you can't hear me, let me know. Guys on Discord, can you hear me?
Yeah.
All right.
Yes, sir.
Sorry for starting slightly late, 5 minutes late. I spaced the live stream. I was working and then I looked up and I was like, oh shit, I gotta start this in 3 minutes. So how's everybody doing? Busy week.
Awesome. Pretty great week so far. Lots of development. Bridge release. That's huge.
Yeah, we've been working hard. I'm working hard to get a bunch of stuff out there. We've basically got the Satori pools ready for Magic. We've been testing that. We created a public release and we ran into a couple problems. Basically, when you have more than one wallet, there's a caching problem that I ran into today while testing. And so we were going to publish it and put it out, but we want to make sure that we put out something that works well from the jump. So we paused that for today, and then hopefully we'll have that fixed, and then we'll submit the update tomorrow. Uh-oh. CLC saying he can't hear me. Everybody else can... You guys on Discord can hear me for sure, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, let me figure out my mic here for a sec.
It's CLC. Check and see if it has any gas in it.
Evan, you can hear me over on YouTube? I don't know why CLC couldn't hear me. CLC, you sure it's not on you? Yeah, over on YouTube. Evan saying he can hear me fine. Guys on Discord.
Yeah, it's probably just a Discord setting function. CLC, double check that.
Yeah. So anyways, yeah, we've got a bunch of things developed. Yeah, it's just CLC again. Sorry, he's just saying he can't hear me. Yeah, so we've got a bunch of things developed. We've got bridge, we got pools. We'll submit pools tomorrow on Magic. And then I've started this week with a new full-time dev for a JavaScript library. So he's been cranking on it, which will be slick because then we can use that inside of the new Magic App Store stuff that's written in TypeScript, as well as anybody that's doing anything web related. It'll make it slick and simple to generate and create transactions. And then in terms of core code, I'm going to meet with Hans probably tomorrow. He and I haven't synced up in the last week, but we basically just need to prepare everything for testnet and probably create some documentation so that people can help out on it. There are like a few last remaining things that we cleaned up. And then Hans reached out to me saying that he and I need to sync up to kind of set a final date. Let's just get this thing out there. So everything's ready to rock, and core code should be coming here real soon. I am going out of town, so there won't be a live stream next week. And the following week, I'll be out of town, unfortunately, over 2 Thursdays. So you won't see me for another 3 weeks, but I'll be around. I'll be on Discord and Twitter and anywhere else, and I'm happy to still kind of put out updates and coordinate with core devs and make sure everything's still rolling and rocking and we're not slowing down. So, and then continuing on the Magic front, I've continued to work on the backend. We got a new backend coming along nicely. It's not going to be ready until the new JavaScript library is completed. And that's mainly because that is going to be the TypeScript code that I use to generate the actual unsigned transactions. So I anticipate that'll probably take a couple of weeks for the gentleman that's writing it to kind of research it and then write it, maybe 3 weeks. And then we'll kill our old backend on Magic and we'll roll out the new one. And then in the meantime, we'll keep grinding on the dApp store. So big things to come on the core front, as well as kind of the broader ecosystem. And then, of course, we've got bridge pools, and then a bunch of other things in the pipeline for 2025. So we're cranking. Let's see.
Right on. Hey, I've got a question.
Yeah, let's do it.
I was just wondering if you have any apps that are ready or already in development for the dApp store.
We're planning on putting Satori in there first. So that's kind of the test case, just like we've done with the bridge, where mainly because I work closely with Meta, it's just easy to use it as the test case. So first thing will be Satori. But then we're hoping that other people will jump in once they understand how you can add these dApps to the dApp store and kind of create a bunch of stuff. So we'll use Satori as the test case, an example, and then I'm sure other people will kind of jump in, and I'll make some videos and things to show people how it all works. Anybody in Discord have updates on anything else? Throw it in the chat. Feel free to jump in. I should say, so right now the bridge on Satori is just a one-way. We have to wait for the remintable code to be implemented on mainnet before people can hop from base back over into EVR. And so it's kind of a one-way thing. So for now, if you do it, be aware that if you go from EVR over to base, you're going to have to stay there for a little bit. But as soon as that code's ready on Evrmore, you'll be able to hop from base back over into EVR.
I have a question.
Let's do it.
Did y'all figure out how to get control of the Reddit, the subreddit?
I have just been so busy. I saw some people messaging about that. Maybe they even messaged me.
Well, I put in the general discussion that I went ahead and captured I made some communities with the Evrmore official name, and I captured them. That way no one could take them. And that whoever wants them, whoever y'all want to be the mods, if you can't get control of the other one and you want one you can control, I captured them and I'll turn them over to the mods, to whoever wants them that y'all agree on or whatever. I'm putting the names of them in the chat right now. I just captured different iterations of basically the Twitter handle or the X handle. And I'll 100% turn them over to whoever. I don't want to be a mod. I don't want that kind of power.
I think
if y'all need them, for sure.
Yeah, no, I think that's great. I think that's awesome that you jumped in and grabbed those. I haven't had a chance to reach out to the people that are in there. I mean, at this point, we might just use one of the ones that you snagged.
Because I know there was issues with like the auto mod, like going too far or something, and can't get a hold of somebody. So whoever you want me to give them to when they join, I'll just make them the mod. Then I'll remove myself, or they can remove me, or whatever, whichever one you want. Okay, I'll give them all over. That's fine with me too.
Yeah, just throw them in the chat, and then we'll figure out what we're gonna do on that front.
Okay.
Like I said, I've just been busy, so I'll reach out to a couple people and see if we can figure that out. And if not, we'll definitely use the ones that you've snagged, because I did see them in the general chat, and it's nice that they match the Twitter handle, the X handle. So
Yeah,
might just
I
run
mean, I
with
was trying to
that.
figure out a name, so I was looking around and I was like, well, maybe I can get the Twitter handle. So I just snagged different iterations of that.
Yeah, I'll reach out. I'll reach out
Okay.
this week. In fact, I'm gonna go create a note right now so that way I don't forget. Give me just one sec, guys. All right. Yeah, we'll figure that out. Something we need to figure out.
Okay.
We don't want it kind of locked down and inactive.
And then I had another question about the dApp store. You mentioned that Satori is going to be the first one in there. And over the week, I was kind of messing around with Satori. And I got it installed on my system and I figured out how all of it works just to kind of be more in the know about how to get it set up. And I had some serious issues with the browsers blocking me. Well, I had Chrome and Edge both blocked me from downloading it. Once I got those settled, I had Windows was actually blocking me. I had to go in and turn off all of the Defender stuff and everything like that. So the reason why I'm saying that is because if they're in a dApp store, are they going to be able to get around all of those things? Do we want them to get around all of those things, or is there a possibility that when somebody installs a dApp from a dApp store, it gets blocked by the OS like Windows because it's doing the same thing it would do if you downloaded it from a website or something?
Yeah, that's a really good question. In fact, I'm going to shoot a message to Metastack right now. Well, did you by chance mention anything in the Satori Discord?
No, I didn't. I was just messing around with it. I watched Shayner's video for like getting it all installed and everything, but I had to go a couple of steps further with going into Windows Defender and you know basically I had to turn off everything in Windows Defender and the antivirus and everything because it wouldn't even allow me to download it. And then once I got it downloaded, once it sat there for a couple minutes, Windows quarantined it. So then I had to download it and then go in and protect that folder so it can be excluded from Windows Defender. So I just put it in my mining folder since that's automatically excluded. Like I had to do a lot of tomfoolery just to get it to where I could click it.
Yeah, the same thing's happening on my laptop, but it's not happening on my desktop for some reason. I'm not too sure if it's a different Windows version or that's causing it or what's the case. But for Chrome, I can download Satori on my desktop. No problem. Nothing antivirus pops up. On my laptop, it's like you said, it's a workaround. Only Firefox will be able to download it, and then I have to turn off the Defender just so I can, get into access.
Yeah, so I had to turn all that stuff off and then it still wouldn't work. And I was like, well, let me try restarting it. And then I restarted my system with all of the security off. And then I was able to do it. Then I was like, well, once I got it into an excluded folder and I know it's protected now I need to turn everything on and restart my system again just so I can mess with it so my system's protected. So, what I'm getting at is like, if this is an issue with everything that comes in from the dApp store, then people are going to have to do a lot of finagling with security just to use maybe each and every app in there. But if there's a way to, I don't know how it works, to sign it through so Windows accepts it, or so that when it installs, it automatically creates an exclusion for where it stores those dApps, and maybe kind of like let the user know, like, hey, this is going in an excluded folder. Your Windows Defender won't, search through this or whatever. It's probably not a big deal on Linux because the user controls it, but as far as Windows and maybe Mac, I'm not sure about Mac, but the OSs they were actively blocking Satori more than I've seen them block anything.
I just shot a message to Metastack and asked him if people have told him or if he's familiar with that, and he said, yeah, he's heard that. So
Okay.
he's on it. He'll work on making sure that that's not the case.
Okay. Well, I also just don't want it to propagate through all the apps that
Yeah.
come in through the dApp store.
Once he goes and kind of figures that out, I'll touch base with him again to kind of see what he did in order to make sure that that's not a problem. Yeah, because the last thing we want is for that to be trouble for all of the dApp store dApps.
Yeah, I mean, you know,
yeah, I mean, you
workaround
can't
is
have friction like that.
Yeah, and a workaround would be to put everything that comes through the dApp store into an excluded folder. But then, if somebody wants to install it somewhere else, or they want to move stuff around or storage or whatever, then you start moving out of excluded folders, and then all of a sudden things start getting snapped up by quarantine, and it becomes a big hassle. So I'm not sure from a security standpoint how to reconcile those issues. And like you said, we don't want that kind of friction with people just trying to get dApps out there.
Yeah, it's got to be super simple. Like if people can't basically double click on it, have it download, and spin it up, then it's just too difficult for your average person. So
yeah.
All right. Well, yeah. I mean, I didn't know about that. That's good that a couple of you are letting me know, because that's the last thing we want to have happen. You roll out the dApp store and then people think that it's full of Trojans and viruses, and yeah, we definitely don't want that. I'll see what Metastack says. I'm sure he'll find some solution for that, and if not, we've got plenty of time to be proactive about it. So hell yeah.
Okay. Cool.
I wonder what it is that's causing that.
It's probably the same thing that triggers a quarantine on mining software. But so if you go into like Windows security, it's not necessarily in firewall and network protection or device security. For the download of Satori off the internet, it was in app and browser control, and it was reputation-based protection and exploit protection. I had to go into each one of those and turn off all of the different things. And, I basically turned off everything I could find within there, and then had to restart my system, and then it worked, and then restarted on mine after I turned it back on. Like it was a big thing. Definitely a lot of friction.
Has anybody experienced that by chance, either on YouTube X or here in Discord, on anything other than Windows? I wonder if it's just isolated to it. Yeah, Satori download kink.
I've only had the problem on Windows.
Yeah, I only had it on Windows. I didn't try it on my Linux distro, and I've never had any problems with any type of anything on Linux. I can do whatever I want in my Linux distro. So it's probably just like a Windows thing, probably mainly.
Interesting.
But like, to be clear, like the mining software will usually pop up under virus and threat protection, and then it gets quarantined and you go in and you can restore it. For this stuff, it was under app and browser control, and it was reputation-based protection, and there was no capability to restore the quarantine. It just blocked it from being downloaded, or it auto quarantined it to where you could not restore it. So,
I see.
Drop Windows, yeah. Look, as soon as Linux or Call of Duty makes it for Linux or whatever, when I can play the latest Call of Duty on Linux, I will never set foot in Windows again. That's it.
I honestly haven't used Windows in, man, I don't know, 20 years. But I don't, I like if I were a gamer and like I get why people still use Windows. Not everybody.
It's Call of Duty for me. That's it. There's nothing else.
I think I'm kind of not an odd duck in terms of a developer, but I don't think a lot of you guys use Mac, but I mean, that's my go-to.
I used to use Mac. The only reason why I'm on Windows with Linux right now is because I built my own system, and you can't install Mac OS on your own custom built system. You know.
I like Linux a lot. I use Linux a ton.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. Mac, I've just used Mac forever, but I mean, like all of my server shit's all Linux. Just reading the chat here. Interesting. Huh, maybe it'll be harder than we're anticipating to get it to not show up. Well, we'll try and reduce the friction as much as possible.
I mean, an easy workaround is just the dApp store is installed into an excluded folder, and then anything that comes through the dApp store gets installed in that same excluded folder, so that quarantine bypasses it altogether. But that would probably need like a warning to the user, and then once you start warning them that, you know, hey, your system's going to call this a virus, that might cause some people to stray away, like the regular users. If you're a miner, you're probably like, whatever, I've seen this before. But for any normie just trying to download some dApps, they're gonna be like, what, virus? Nah, screw this.
Yeah, that's kind of lame.
I'm wondering if there's any way to use the dApps just purely through HTML.
Yeah, that is the other way to do it. You could make it more web-based, so but that kind of.
Then you don't have access to the underlying hardware, right?
That's right. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Well, yeah, we'll figure it out. We'll do the best we can. I mean, we'll make happen what we can make happen. It sounds like mining software and other things kind of have the same problem. But
yeah.
I assume that that's all isolated to Windows as well. Like anybody that's mining, you haven't experienced problems with antivirus or quarantine or anything like that on Linux, right?
Yeah, I've never experienced any of those issues on Linux.
No, none of my Raspberry Pis did that at all.
Yeah. Does anybody have any things that they've kind of been working on? Any updates that they've got? I haven't really paid attention too much to kind of community efforts and what everybody else is kind of working on and building over the last week. I saw some discussions on Twitter, but I've just been grinding on code mainly. Let me go check a couple things real quick. See if there were any notable updates on core stuff that I'm missing. Yeah, I basically just cleaned up a couple of the toll fields and a couple things, but besides that, we're basically just waiting to resync and then put this out there.
No, I just wanted to say that I'm really impressed with the bridge and how it works on the Satori side anyway. And I mean, from what I've heard, I haven't used it. And I didn't realize that pretty much meant that you could go into, is it Uniswap? Right away.
Yeah, because you're able to mint. I mean, you essentially have the real asset over on the other chain. And so any of the features that the other chain offers, you can take advantage of. So that includes like liquidity pools or really anything on these other chains that people want to set up.
Yeah, that's really awesome. I think part of what is exciting is that it really opens us to other markets, right? Right now we don't really have a marketplace. And so that's one big benefit. And I guess I don't know how people are finding out about it, but people are buying Satori and Uniswap, and I don't know how they learned about it, but that's cool that they're doing that.
I haven't checked on that. I know that Metastack and some other guys, and they kind of set some of that stuff up, and there was some liquidity over there. Have any of you guys tried that out yet? I saw that you're able to kind of swap it on the Coinbase wallet, but I also knew that they were kind of creating some stuff, some like liquidity pools and that kind of thing. But I haven't had a chance to check that out yet.
Is it called Satori Labs?
Well, what do you mean by that?
Like on the other chain? Like I'm seeing something.
Nah, it should just be called
on
Satori.
Well, there's a Satori with wrapped ETH on Uniswap. I don't know if that's the one.
Maybe they did call it Satori Labs. I don't know. I know that the token itself is definitely just like not wrapped Satori. It's just Satori.
It's not Satori Labs. Crypto and Coffee just actually linked in Discord.
Oh, okay. Hell yeah. Let me go check.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Well, here I'll put a link to the one I'm looking at. I guess it's different.
Thanks,
It says
Coffee, for
Satori
linking that in the
Labs.
chat.
It says Satori Labs on the info of the tab.
Yeah, there we go.
That's something different, I guess.
I've seen like our Satori and then Satori Labs, and then there's also Satori Finance.
Ah,
A few different ones.
It's too bad it doesn't say Satori AI. I think that's catchy.
I think they definitely wanted to keep it consistent just because you don't want people to think that it's different.
Yep, that makes sense.
But I agree with you. Yeah, from a marketing perspective, AI kind of gives a little pop. Interesting. All right, cool. Yeah, Metastack told me that they were working on this, that there'd be some liquidity over here.
Yeah, I've used it. It works pretty well.
I got a quick question if you can hear me.
Yes, absolutely.
All right, right on. How's it going, everybody? Is this the Satori thing? I guess is that going through your burn bridge thing, or is that still in the works and predominantly starting off with the ETH thing, and this is just some separate shit?
It's kind of like half of burn bridge, meaning until like the remint stuff is ready, we can't roll out like the full entire thing. So the smart contracts deployed that gives us the ability to remint on both sides. But for now, because Metastack wanted to just get this out there while not waiting for the remintable code on EVR, it's kind of like 1 foot in, 1 foot out. You're able to kind of bridge over there using the exact same smart contract, but because we don't have remintable code yet over on EVR until it hits mainnet, the full burn bridge hasn't rolled out. That's also why we didn't put out an announcement.
It's a one-way bridge.
So it's a one-way. So if you're planning on going over there, don't plan on coming back for at least a few weeks. I mean, you could always sell it and then repurchase back over on the EVR side, but that's kind of clunky.
Yeah, well, some people were buying in Safe Trade and selling in Uniswap because
okay.
Because it made sense.
It looks like there was definitely a little bit of an arbitrage there.
Uh-huh. But yeah, I mean, back to the general concept. You know, people have created tokens. They can just bridge them and put them in some other marketplace, in some other chain, and have access to those markets immediately. I didn't realize that that's one of the benefits of all of this. And so with the big picture in mind, you know, I think of tokenizing something big, right? Real estate, a football team or something like that. That's one of the drawbacks that we've had is we haven't had that marketplace or even the interest. But as soon as we can bridge to other cryptos, then yeah, presumably the markets are there. So this is huge, I think.
Yeah, I think it's a big deal. I think that it definitely makes it easy now to take advantage of the things that EVR is great at, as well as the features of different chains. And so it's kind of like this nice pick your risk type feature where if you want to jump over into Uniswap and MetaMask and the Ethereum ecosystem and Base, you can hop over there. And then if you want things to be a bit more secure and take a little bit less risk, you can certainly then just hop straight back over into the EVR side. And then, of course, there are price trade-offs as well, right? So when you go to mint, almost always it's going to be cheaper on EVR to do that than it is on a lot of these other chains. And then, of course, the big picture and big vision of Bridge is that coins and assets that have originally been created on these other chains can de-risk by bridging back over to, and I shouldn't say back over, but they can bridge over to EVR. So as the rest of kind of the Bridge stuff gets released and the remintable code, I think it's a really cool feature that people are going to like.
Yeah, it also makes me think of, you know, like we used to say, if you don't own your keys, if you don't have your keys, then you don't really own it, right? And so with Evrmore, we know we had the keys to the asset, but when we go other places, we don't. And so you could create the asset here, go somewhere else for the market, and then when you want to secure your asset, you bring it back and put it in your own wallet.
Yeah, and the cool part is you don't have to swap with someone else. I mean, it's just you're burning your own coins on one chain and then having them on the other one. So it's super slick and simple, and there's not a lot of counterparty risk that's involved because there aren't any counterparties.
Yeah. Somebody was asking in Discord, I don't think I saw the answer, if that can be done with Ever itself, the EVR itself. I don't think that's the case, but it sounded maybe like that's down the road a possibility.
Yeah, right now we can't do it just because the remintable code on EVR only is for assets. And so there have been some discussions about how we might be able to do it for EVR, but for now it's only for assets, with the hope that with some more thought we'll be able to roll out the ability to do it with EVR. But you know, first things first, we've got to crawl, walk, run. So we've kind of got one half of assets. We'll get the other half, and then we'll work with the community and thinking about how we might do that with EVR.
Yeah, that's great. I think it's right to just go one step at a time. What would be, I think I understand it, but what would be the benefits of being able to bridge EVR itself to other chains?
Much like the asset bridging, you can create markets and you can take advantage of the different features of the different chains. So you'd be able to add EVR to a liquidity pool, and you could have it directly inside of Uniswap. And so for anybody that's over kind of in the Ethereum ecosystem or Base or Solana or any of these other chains, it gives them direct access to EVR. And then, of course, they could burn it and then hop back over into the EVR chain. And so, in large part, it just opens it up to new features and new markets.
And when an asset is bridged over to those chains, does it retain all the information, metadata, IPFS, what else? All that information that is available in the Evrmore asset?
Currently, it does not, mainly because you're actually burning it, and it's not a one-to-one. How do I describe this? The one that you burn is not necessarily the one that gets reminted if you decide to come back. And so that metadata is currently not retained, although we might be able to enhance it. It's actually a really interesting question. I haven't thought too much about that.
But the IPFS goes with it for sure, right?
No, not currently.
No, okay.
Yeah. It's just really a unit quantity that's being destroyed and then created.
It's really mostly for tokens.
It's mostly
Not
for
really
tokens right now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, currently it only supports Satori, and obviously Satori is a token, and so we didn't really think through some of these more advanced use cases. But yeah, that actually is really interesting. Something I haven't thought of. I'll have to think about that some more.
Yeah, so I mean, think of maybe an NFT just as a simple example, right? You got the IPFS, maybe it's an asset that a book, right? That has the IPFS and also has some royalty information. What's the parent asset? Maybe it's a sub asset and then a unique asset. So all of that information is very useful in the EVR blockchain. It'd be great to retain it, but yeah, I realize that that's down the road.
Yeah, I definitely think that there's a use case there, and we'll have to track them on a one-to-one basis, where one specific coin on EVR retains the exact same data as one specific coin on whatever chain it gets bridged to. And then if it ever bridges back, we'll need to have the ability to remint a specific UTXO. Interesting. Seems like we would need to tweak some of the remintable aspect, or maybe we would need to enhance it so that we can specify like what specific UTXO gets reminted. Neutrino in the chat. Jeez. Oh, sorry, Kink. I didn't see that you left. See you later, man. Crypto, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see where crypto's at in the next 6 months with kind of all the stuff that's happening in the United States. Let's kind of see what happens.
You know, it's interesting you say that. I went to the gun range today, and I was talking to the people in there, become friends with them over the last recent while. And one of them started asking me about crypto. And we started talking. I didn't try to push anything on them. And they were like, oh, hey, have you heard of this coin and that coin? And then I was like, yeah, have you heard of this coin and that coin? Like gave them the raunchy name ones just to kind of, you know, lighten up the conversation. Everyone was joking, and they were like, so which one are you? Which one do you have? Do you have any SHIB or Doge? And I'm like, nah, man, that's for amateurs. And then I started pitching them EVR, and I was like, but look, I don't want you to go buy any of it until you understand what it actually does. So here's the website. I'll send it to you. And they were like, all right, cool. Yeah, next time you come in, we'll have to figure out how to buy some. I was like, all right, man. I'm going to ask you questions, though. That way you know what it does. I kind of made it to where it's like on them to kind of, you know, I made it to where they're convincing themselves to buy it. So it's not me convincing them.
Mm-hmm.
Some people call that manipulation. I just call it due diligence.
I get a little bit I don't know, sad or tired or upset. I don't know how to describe it. When I see people posting things about Ravencoin going to the moon and going to $1, and, you know, I'm like, I don't know if you guys realize that Ravencoin is not going anywhere. So I normally just ignore the tweets, but today I actually DM somebody, and I'm like, hey, did you know this and this and that? And have you looked into Ever? So it's just maybe a way for me to vent a little bit on without being public about it.
I usually just stay out of most of the conversations. I figure if people are interested, they'll kind of find their way over here, and I try to keep everything on the positive side.
No, that's right. That's a good approach, especially for you.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely am opinionated and have my thoughts regarding other projects and stuff, and certainly in the past I've voiced those thoughts a lot more, and over the last I don't know, 12, 24 months I really just have pulled back in that regard. Thought yeah, it's better to just remain positive, and if people want to kind of look into things and come over here, we're happy to have them, and if not, no worries.
Yeah, no, this was a positive DM. It wasn't a Ravencoin is trash type of thing. It was like, hey, you know, I used to be a huge supporter, and I moved over because of this and that, and kind of highlighted a few things. But yeah, it's just the frustration that it almost feels like the misleading part on, yeah, get in now because it's going to $1.50. I'm like, really? Do you guys know what you're talking about?
I definitely have my fair share of frustrations. I every 6 months I leave the Ravencoin Discord, and that was this week. Earlier this week I left again.
Yeah.
So like I definitely understand where you're coming from.
Yeah. Yeah, but you're right. We just need to focus on the positives here. There's so much to look forward to, right?
Yeah, onwards and upwards. I mean, we're building so much that it's like, kill them with kindness, and better to show them than tell them.
Yep.
So speaking of the stuff we're building, while I was talking to the people at the gun range today, they were like, well, how could I use it? How could we use it? Whatever. And I said, well, you know, you can create like a QR code and have it as an asset. And I said, you guys sell, or you're not sell, but you have a paid membership each month for people to come in and use their range as many times as they want. So for $60 a month, they can come in and use the range as many times as they want, or it's $20 per visit, right? So you can create this QR code that effectively, you know, has a date or whatever, or it's active. And as long as it's active, then their membership's still good. And I said, you can also set it up so where if, let's say, somebody no longer wants their range pass, they can sell it to somebody else. But then you can extract like maybe a $5 fee on the exchange of it to somebody else. And then you can like, it can be prolonged or whatever. Like there's different things you can do. I said, but this is just a base case where like, instead of you guys, because what they do is they just take your ID and they make a copy and they put their little range pass, like they handwrite it. It's nothing set up or anything. They just handwrite it on there, and then they laminate it, and it's kind of janky. And I was like, you guys can just make this little thing that sits on their phone, and then you can just scan it with your QR scanner you have right there that you're using for other stuff. And then it's a live range pass. And then they come in, they scan it, and like, good to go. And they were like, oh yeah, that's pretty cool. Blah, blah, blah.
So let's just go on that because I like where you're going with it. But does that mean the user, the member, needs to have a wallet with their asset?
Well, yeah, I mean, they would have to set up a wallet. That's what I'm saying. Like, it would be a case for them to use it. And I mean, the people at the gun ranges are kind of like, they're getting into crypto. Like they really are.
Mhm.
Like we were talking about Butthole Coin and all the other coins today, and they were all like, "Oh, I'm gonna buy this. I'm gonna buy that." So like they're familiar with wallets. And like there was some 70-something-year-old dude in there who was, he can't really do much, but he still has time to come to the range. And he was talking about how he just bought some Bitcoin and sent it to his wallet. And I'm like, okay, this is kind of becoming ubiquitous throughout society, where people are starting to gain a base level of understanding with all this stuff. So maybe it's a good time to start, pushing some of these features. But I told him, I'm like, we'd have to figure out a way to get it set up for him. I said, if you guys are really interested in doing this, let me know. We can sit down and figure out how to get it set up for you. But for now, just look into this and whatever else you want, and ask me some questions if you like. So they were into it. But that did lead me to a question that I didn't mention out loud there, but it kind of stayed in my head, was for the asset tolls. Is there an asset toll feature where it diminishes over time? So like a prorated asset toll. So like if the asset's only good for like, let's say 60 days, and then if somebody sells it at day 30, is there a way to diminish that asset toll, kind of like in an options contracts, losing its theta value, its time?
So you're touching on two things that also can be combined. So right now there is a manual way to do that, not an automated way. You can update the toll. So after 60 days, you could go in and you could change what the toll is, or whatever increment of time. But then there is also a new feature that has not been implemented yet called expiring unique assets. And that is kind of more along the lines of what you're talking about, where you would create an expiring unique asset that kind of expires after a certain amount of time. And then you could place a toll on it. And then there's other features in the roadmap where, when combined, you could do something in a more automated way, like what you're talking about, that are more options contract-like.
So it can reduce the toll as the time wears on?
Yes. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Okay. That's really cool. That's really cool. That's kind of getting set up for options trading, isn't it? Like, or
yeah, there are definitely some more advanced features that are in the roadmap that start to take advantage of the individual features in more of a combined manner, that are definitely a lot more options contract-like.
That's really cool. Could you imagine bridging over some Butthole Coin and then selling options on it?
So I wanted to ask you about this example. So then I'm just trying to figure out, do the average crypto bro out there, do they have like multiple wallets on their phone already, or are they going to websites? Because I only hold Bitcoin and Ever, really, Satori also, but so I don't know much about what everybody else does. And I'm asking because I in your example, is a new user going to be like, man, I don't want to add another wallet, or I don't know what a wallet is, or yeah, I don't know that I trust this magic wallet.
Well,
So I want to understand that a little bit.
I think the thing is that apps are pretty much everyday nomenclature these days. There's apps for everything. You can have an app to log what kind of food you eat every day. You can have an app to play games. You can have an app to do this, and you can go through all your apps while you sit on the toilet trying to find something to play. So like the idea of having an app to do something specific isn't necessarily as absurd as it might have been 15 years ago, or 10 years ago, I should say. But if it's as simple as like downloading, let's say, Magic Wallet, and then if the QR can pop up in Magic Wallet, then they can scan it right there. I mean, it's one app, and it can be like, oh yeah, just download this free app, and then we'll send you this QR code, and as long as it's active, it'll scan, and then you can get in. And it takes like 10 seconds because they can download the app really quickly. They can set up, and if they're used to crypto, then like they're not going to be, going crazy about it. It's a lot simpler than what you may think.
I think.
Yeah, and then you can combine it with other things like discounts or coupons, or they get an NFT, and that NFT gives them access to something else.
Yeah, I mean, essentially, like, so the baseline would be like, oh yeah, you're buying a membership, cool. Well, we can either make this paper thing for you, or we have this new thing where we just send you this QR code that we hold on to, or that you hold on to. And then, so the cool feature about this is that it would expire after a certain amount of time, because you don't just want to send an active QR code that's good forever, because then you have to manually go in or automate a process to go in and kill off those QR codes for certain people. But if you're making one for a particular person that expires after a certain amount of time, it's unique to that person and that time frame.
No, that's a great point.
So then they're just like, they're creating it and they're sending it to the wallet. So they're not having to do any transactions as the end holder of the QR code, unless they're going to sell it to somebody. So it would be like the gun shop, creating it and sending it to the wallet. And then you can set all this stuff up and store it to where it's like, oh yeah, well here, just scan this. All right, we got it. Good to go. You could have it within a minute.
You could also do that as a unique expiring asset, where it's like a 1-year membership, and then once it expires, it's no longer valid, like through the consensus rules of the blockchain. So the gun shop would create these expiring unique assets that are valid for whatever time increment they decide. And then, of course, in the interim, if you've had it for 6 months and you want to sell it, you could certainly do so. And then it has 6 months remaining, so on and so forth.
And this isn't just like gun shops. This is anywhere where you can have a membership, right? So like
exactly.
where I live,
or coupons, or any concert tickets, any of these types of things.
It's kind of it's what they call a dry county where I live. So like businesses can sell liquor, but a bar, for some reason, like a straight up bar, like Chili's can, but if it's just a bar, then you have to be a member of the bar to sell liquor to that person. And it's not really acting like it's crazy. But anyways, my point is like you can set up these systems to build out QR codes directly on a desktop. Somebody could make a dApp that goes inside the Magic Wallet dApp store. And then it's like, hey, you want to create expiring, QR codes? Here's your dApp. Download this dApp. And you put in like date of expiry, whatever, and you create it and you send it to that person from your desktop dApp store, and then the person receives it in their Ever wallet, and you're good to go. That would probably be a really cool dApp to make. So like anyone could buy it and attach it to their store and make their stuff, or anyone could get the dApp on their system with the dApp store. But the end user doesn't need the dApp store on their phone or their mobile device, because all they're doing is receiving the QR code. So the business could stand up the dApp store and then download this expiring asset creator that creates that's specific for passes and stuff like that. And then it's just like a plug and play thing, that would be like the simplest way I can think of doing it right now.
There's a bunch of businesses out there, like you said, that could use it. And there's also a bunch of businesses out there that create systems for businesses, right? So you could create that system and charge, a percentage, like 1%, just for creating for every transaction, just for creating the model and facilitating it to the business.
I mean, yeah, if you wanted to, you can set it up so that because it's your DApp that's making it, right? So you can set it up so that any QR that's made, there's a base asset toll that they can add to if they want. But the base asset toll could go to the creator of the DApp or whatever. Like, you could set it up however you can imagine it. But just putting it all in a DApp store that because businesses are going to have desktops, right? Somewhere. It's going to be an easier thing to do than like a couple people on their phone. So that's just a thought.
In the previous wallet that we built at Moontree, we had all of the abilities to create different types of assets, and our backend still currently supports all of those things, even though we haven't fully migrated that over to Magic. I anticipate that with the desktop version of Magic, we'll migrate all of those abilities over so that you'll be able to create all of the different types of assets directly inside of the desktop version.
And then the DApp would have access to that so it can create these QR codes or whatever.
Yep. Yeah, CLC was saying, yeah, I've got 10 wallets on my phone. Shander's is saying, yeah, the annoying part about having so many wallets is the recovery words. I mean, over the years, I've had so many wallets. Like probably 30. I think that the average kind of crypto bro at this point, it's an app's an app. If they kind of want the coin, that's, hey, does the wallet that I've got on my phone like support it? It's like, yes, great. If not, oh, here, just download this other one.
Yeah, that's pretty much where we're at.
And then, of course, kind of like what CLC is saying, like he's saying, hey, you can buy Satori on Phantom Wallet now. It's like, you can always use the bridge. So if you don't want the EVR version of it, or if you're just wanting one that's already supported in whatever wallet you've already got, you can certainly buy whatever one and then just bridge it over to whatever your wallet supports. What else you guys got? Anything else? Any other questions?
That Pumped Out Fund got hit with a class action.
Wait, they got hit with a class action lawsuit?
That's what I saw somewhere, but I haven't looked.
Oh, I didn't see that.
I wonder if it has to do with the Hawk Tua coin.
This dude alleges that Pumped Out Fund has made nearly 500 million in fees from helping users generate meme coins.
Yeah, I heard that. That's crazy. I wouldn't be surprised if they got hit with a class action.
I'm reading articles from like an hour ago that says they did.
I'm looking it up right now.
Wow, yeah. Phantom does have Satori. Just checked it, confirmed.
Yeah, apparently they got hit with multiple class action lawsuits in the last week. Yeah, then the most recent one was filed today. Interesting. Depending upon which one, they allege that they failed to register with the SEC. And then also people losing money. And apparently they name both the entity as well as the 3 co-founders. So that'll be interesting to see how that turns out. I'll bet not much comes of it. I mean, at this point, it's. I mean, the president launched his own meme coin, and so did the first lady. So if you don't realize like that these things are scams, like, I mean, that's kind of the name of the game at this point. I think I
I mean,
read.
it's starting to take over everywhere. Crypto is. I was even watching a TV show where they were talking about the intelligence agency made one that's trackable, so they can track, people doing drug cartels or mafias or whatever. Like, it's starting to be just, it's everywhere. It's ubiquitous. So
Yeah, exactly. It's permeated culture. Like anybody and everybody basically knows about crypto or has dabbled with it, or
yeah.
like I don't know how people are going to claim like, oh, I didn't know. What do you mean? Like every single person, it's like something that every person knows at this point.
For sure.
Yeah, crypto's fun, but it's real scams. It's important to support real ones. Yeah, for sure. There are some real projects out there. Probably zero of them started on Pump.fun.
It's hard to compete with people sharing screenshots of their coin up 30,000% in 12 hours, and people who don't really understand what's happening, they're like, holy crap, I can do that too. And they don't realize that the person who created it owns the liquidity, and they're just slowly ticking it up. And then as soon as some other buyers come in, they just dump it when they see enough orders. So like, and it's hard to explain that to people because all they want to do is they just want to focus on the 30,000%. Oh yeah, I made this coin last night and it's worth $45 million. It's like, come on, man. No, it's not.
Yeah, it's effectively just gambling at this point. I think that over time though, people will come to differentiate the different types of crypto. It's
Well, also we might get some regulatory clarity. So like, because it's effectively creating a direct public offering, right? And there's already rules for that in the stock market. Like you can have an IPO or you can have a DPO. So like a direct public offering, you're just creating stock and you're selling it out to people without going through the process of an IPO. It's significantly cheaper, but you're kind of doing it on your own through lawyers, and it's not really on like the major exchanges or anything yet, and you got to go in and do all that yourself. But I can see a world where they create some regulatory clarity where they start classifying some of these meme coins as basically direct public offerings, because you're essentially creating something to sell to everyone else, whether it's a business or not, with the intent of making money off of it or generating revenue. So at the minimum, they could effectively classify you as running a business without proper licensing, right?
Yeah,
So like
I think that we will
hairy.
get that regulatory clarity, and I think that what they'll do is they'll say it depends on what you're doing. Like there's a difference between putting out a coin that is a business and effectively doing an unlicensed public offering, and that's very different from like a coupon or a ticket or a real world asset or many other legitimate uses. And then I also think that they'll probably have some type of carve out in terms of like gambling. I mean, at this point, it more or less is like playing the lotto, where I don't know, like, are meme coins like a public offering? Are they really like a business and they're promising that they're going to go out and do things? I mean, at this point in this incarnation of meme coins, It looks
No.
to me less like that. It looks to me more like people creating their own personal autos where they are the house, and then everybody kind of speculates which one is going to go up, and that's you buying your lotto ticket. So I don't know.
Yeah, I
I
mean,
think they'll carve it out. I think
my-
that they'll say, hey, if you're using it this way, it kind of looks like a duck and quacks like a duck. But if you're over here and you're using it that way, well, then that's different, and you need to apply these other rules. But I do think we're going to get that clarity.
Yeah, I was mainly just comparing it to a direct public offering because, like, if you spent any time in penny stocks, trying to mess around in there, like you see a lot of these companies, they spring up and they have, 1 billion authorized shares with, a million, a couple million, or maybe 100 million outstanding that's tradable. And then as it goes up, they just dilute into the outstanding shares from the authorized. And then they'll just run it back down and wait for it to climb again, do it again. And they'll just keep doing this so they run out of authorized shares. And then, oh no, the company's bankrupt. We're closing shop. And then next thing you know, the same people are starting another company 2 weeks later with the same type of thing. And it's the basic pump and dump scheme, right? So
Yeah.
the only thing meme coins are lacking is a business license and a potential product. Because some of these companies that are penny stocks don't actually even have a product yet. So it's effectively the promise of something and a business license that they're lacking. So that's the only reason why I am tempted to compare it to a direct public offering, because they may say, yeah, you may not have a business or a product, but you're essentially selling shares to generate revenue. Because at the end of the day, that's what they're doing with those things, is they're attempting to grab revenue and profits or whatever by selling their asset, which is, like you said, a lot different from coupons and QR codes and other types of digital assets. That's the only reason why I compared it to that. But you're right, it's definitely not the same right now. I could see a world where people in Congress try to connect those dots, or just and something to do with it, and then maybe levy a big tax on meme coins or something like that, just to kind of keep them under wraps.
I definitely think a lot of them do fall under what you're saying. And I think that they'll have that. That'll be a category. They'll say, hey, look, if you do this, if it does this, if you do that, then I mean it is an illegal security offering.
Yeah, and I mean at some point you're gonna have to hit it to a fiat ramp somewhere if you want to make your life easier with getting access to any profits you get, because even if you put it in USDC and have a Coinbase card or something, it's going to convert and hit the account with your name on it. Somewhere you're going to hit KYC. And if you're doing that stuff and they haven't been able to get you yet, and they're following your wallets, then bam, they're coming after you.
It'll be interesting to see how they crack down on that, because I don't know how they're going to stop this from happening. Like, people, unless they make an example of a lot of people, I could see people just continuing to spin these things up, and I don't know. It's like whack-a-mole, but it'll be interesting to see how it all plays out.
Yeah, one of the big things is, like, when they do create this regulatory clarity, it's also going to carve out exactly what the Trump coin and Melania coin were, right? So
Yeah.
then it's going to be like, yeah, we made this clarity, and then someone's going to be like, oh, hey, look, Trump coin falls under that. Or even, Bernie Sanders wants to make a coin. Sanders coin falls under that. Like, whatever. I'm not trying to be political. I'm just saying, like, objectively, Trump made a coin, Melania made a coin, they push it. And if there's clarity that comes out from that, and they say, oh, hey, look, this applies to you or whoever made your coin. You know what I mean? So that'll be interesting to watch how that gets navigated, because supporters might try to protect them, and then the other side might try to create legislation that hurts them. So it'll be an interesting river to watch them navigate down, for sure.
Yeah, the next 6 months are going to be probably some of the most interesting in crypto.
Yeah, I'm excited for it. As long as XRP doesn't get into a national reserve, we're all good. I would even be fine with Ravencoin going into a national reserve, just not XRP.
I think that there's very little chance that it'll end up in there. I think the pushback at this point is too broad. Like, it's just not going to happen, which is good.
For sure.
I think it should be Bitcoin anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, same. I'm not a maxi, but yeah, it should just be Bitcoin for sure.
Yep, likewise.
And I saw that some of the states are adopting a strategic reserve. Like there's more coming through the pipeline.
Which is great.
Like, so we have state level strategic reserve. And then maybe they may not make like a, no, I mean, I was going to say maybe they could just ask, the federal government could ask the states to create their own, but that would kind of defeat the purpose of a federal strategic reserve. Never mind. It was Utah. I just looked it up. Utah, USA approves bill to adopt Bitcoin as strategic reserve. And one is going to Arizona and stuff like that.
Sorry to interrupt you here.
Looks like
the DApp store there. Are there any improvements or capabilities with Nostr coming into play?
Oh, that's interesting. I haven't considered that. I haven't thought about that at all. Maybe when I sync up with Hans here in the next day or two, he and I can chat about that.
Awesome.
Yeah, good idea. Thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah, I got in the car. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Hey, back to the that conversation you guys had about the reserve. Did you guys see that article or that tweet that mentioned that the U.S. has gold certificates that are valued at the 1973 gold price or something like that? So in theory, the U.S. could sell gold not at 1973 price, but at today's price, right? And
JC, you're cutting out a little bit.
Oh, never mind. Not that important.
Yeah, we could hear you at the beginning, but then you started to fade out. Sorry about that.
Dedication.
Yep. It's kind of dope. Utah's got a either, I don't know if they've actually, vote in progress. Interesting. Yeah, a bunch, like half or more of the states haven't even started, based on kind of what I'm seeing. But vote in progress in Arizona and Utah, where it's been introduced, and they're currently voting on it. Ah, interesting. I'll need to make sure to. I live in Utah, so hit them up, tell them to pass it. Smart.
I'm interested to see which state does it first.
And then, so I'm just reading on Cointelegraph, Texas Lieutenant Governor announces Bitcoin reserve as priority bill for 2025. So like the Texas legislature only meets like every 2 years. So like they try to pack in as much as they can. And from my understanding, most of the legislatures in the Texas legislature, they don't have these big salaries like what you see at the federal level. I think they get like, I want to say $10,000 a year. That's it. Like they mainly run their own businesses and they just come in every 2 years and do whatever. So he's putting it as a priority for a legislature that meets every 2 years, which is kind of a big deal in my mind.
Hell yeah, that's awesome.
But the fact that these states are even, doing this is leaps and bounds above what we had back in like 2020, 2021. And it's progress. That's the way I see it. It's crypto progress.
Without doubt. Yeah, crypto progress. And it's only a matter of time. The dominoes will fall.
Yeah.
Like undeniable,
Yeah.
no.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I told my my buddies that have gold, and I was like, just sell your gold and buy Bitcoin, and they all laughed at me. I'm gonna wait a few years.
Let's see who's laughing. No, Bitcoin.
Well, you saw what Michael Saylor said, right? I don't remember how old this interview was, but somebody asked him, like, well, what happens if Bitcoin goes to zero? You guys going to get liquidated? And his response is basically like, if Bitcoin goes to zero, we'll just buy all the Bitcoin and then it'll be worth as much as we say. So, like, at this point, it's here to stay. You're not getting rid of it. Even if Bitcoin goes to zero, it'll only be there temporarily. I promise.
Say what you want about Sailor, but he seems like he's really at the forefront of all of this.
Yeah, Sailor's a gangster. I think he's taken huge amounts of risk. Don't get me wrong. Like, nothing in life is guaranteed. But
well, you saw the recycle play that everyone's talking about on X, right? Like all the Bitcoin maxis. They're talking about if you buy Bitcoin and then
as a government, correct?
No. So like they're saying if as a person you buy your Bitcoin and then you take a loan out on it from one of these places and you use that loan to buy MSTR stock, right? And then you use proceeds from the MSTR stock, your profits from that to buy more Bitcoin, and then take out more of a loan against that Bitcoin and buy more MSTR because Sailor's using the proceeds from MSTR to buy more Bitcoin.
Yes.
Right. So it's circular. And once you put the money in the loop, it stays in the loop.
Yeah, it's like you're basically contributing in the same way that MSTR is doing internally.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw some guys talking about that.
I love it.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I think that we'll also start to see some dominoes fall in terms of large corporates adopting kind of a MicroStrategy type play. Larger companies will start holding it on their balance sheet. And once that happens, it's pretty much game over.
Yeah. And it's going to suck everything up with it, hopefully.
At first, it'll be, it represents 1% of cash reserves. And then it'll be 5%, and then 10, 15, and 20 years from now, it'll be, I don't know, 100% or half. Or
what's interesting to me about it is like, so I did an internship at a big financial institution that held over $1 trillion in assets under management. And they were talking to me one time about how they have this real estate, I forget the name of it right now, a REIT. It's a real estate investment trust, right? And they have these properties in different parts of the world where they gain, they gain rent on. It's part of this portfolio, right? But they keep the money that was paid to them in the local currency for extended periods of time because the arbitrage on the pair to the US dollar is maybe it's crappy at that time. Maybe the exchange rate is bad, or maybe if they bring it back into the United States, the taxes are going to be high. Like, wasn't there a thing with Apple keeping a lot of their money overseas in Scotland or Ireland or something because they were going to get hit with this huge tax bill when it came back if they ever brought it back, domestic. So the thing is, like, if you take the money you're receiving from all these things in these other countries and you just buy Bitcoin, then all of a sudden you have access to those funds anywhere in the world without technically the money didn't cross any international jurisdictions because it just lives on the chain, right? So it's kind of like, okay, well, you paid us in, Australian dollar, but now it sits in Bitcoin. So however they reconcile that locally in Australia would be maybe the way that it just gets reconciled and they don't have to worry about the taxable events coming back. Like that would be an interesting thing to see regulatory clarity on, because if they say like once it's in crypto, there's no kind of tax to move it around because how are you going to tax that? It just lives in the cloud, right? So then financial institutions could then take payments all over the world in whatever currency, immediately convert it to Bitcoin, and then all of a sudden there's no more taxable event on their hundreds of millions or billions of dollars from coming back onshore. So that would be an interesting thing to see how that kind of falls into place with financial institutions, because if they can get around paying $100 million in taxes or whatever, they're going to do it for sure.
Yeah, I think that the push for 0% capital gains and 0% tax on crypto, as long as you stay in crypto, is, in my opinion, bigger than the Bitcoin strategic reserve. Like if you could do something like that, I mean, that would be huge.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of that's what I'm getting at, because like, and these companies are technically US based companies, right? So like, once it's in Bitcoin, how is it any different from any other Bitcoin that they hold? You know, like how do they separate that out, right? So that would be that would be awesome. That would, I mean, that would skyrocket the usage of Bitcoin by itself. Never mind any other US based crypto projects that these big institutions start using.
Yeah, if they actually pass 0% tax on crypto as long as you remain in crypto, you think crypto's crazy now.
The money's gonna flow for sure.
Oh yeah, the money's gonna flow big time because everybody's gonna want
Zero taxes.
Yeah, zero tax. Like, think it's bad now, just wait.
If you're saying no capital gains as long as you stay in crypto, or does that include stable coins?
That's what people were talking about.
Technically, yeah, that's what I was hearing or reading. Because that was my big question. I even asked Coinbase on X about it. Like, am I, if I'm using USDC with my Coinbase card, are you guys covering the cost of the purchase in USDC and then you're converting it from USDC to USD? Or are you converting it when the transaction happens so that I'm in USD? And they actually responded, along with every other scammer in the world on X trying to get support help to click their Telegram link. But they were like, no, it's being converted at the time of purchase, so the transaction's in USD. You know, and I said, so technically that creates a taxable event at the time of purchase only. And they're like, sounds like you should talk to an accountant. And I was like, all right, that's pretty much what I need to know. So, but if companies are then set, like, if you can go to Walmart and buy something, let's say that's priced in USDC, then you'd never come out of crypto.
Yep.
Or hell, even buy something that's priced in Bitcoin, which would be kind of weird because it's volatile, right? So, but if you could, there's an option to pay for something in Bitcoin, but just by, you know, sending it to the QR code on the scanner instead of using your credit card, then you've never come out of crypto and you're purchasing something without having to trigger a taxable event. Then all of this stuff where like we get taxed on income, we get taxed when we buy this, we get property tax, we get taxed on this. You've eliminated one of them by saying you're not getting taxed when you buy something because you're buying it with crypto that has zero taxes, and then they're receiving crypto, so there was no taxable event. So that would be absolutely huge.
Yeah, it would cause businesses to want to stay in the crypto ecosystem. So then,
Yeah,
and especially if it covers stable coins, like you just trade into USDT, and then you can spend your USDT without a capital gains event.
yeah, and then they could hold their crypto, and if there's favorable long-term gains, let's say they end up selling Bitcoin like 2 years later or whatever, or whenever they want to sell it, because they, you know, they're running a business, they're going to have to pay something in the local currency, right? So if there's favorable tax incentives for converting back to USD in crypto, even if it's just that like all conversions back to USDC or USD are long-term at the long-term rate, then you effectively killed short-term capital gains in that space, right? So like the businesses would hold on to, which means it would lock it up longer, which means lower supply.
Yep.
And then they're actually going to, yeah, and then they're going to start creating, that's going to create a demand. It's going to go up. So they're going to make money on the purchase, and then they're going to make money on holding it because it's going to go up. And it's just going to have this domino effect that's just going to get kind of crazy.
Yeah, everybody would just want to hold crypto. Like nobody, I'm sure someone or some businesses would want to go back to USD, but I mean, it would cause everybody to want to stay in the crypto realm. It'd be much, much cheaper, especially for businesses. Businesses have a lot of money. Staying in crypto would be amazing. We'll see, though.
That's what I'm excited about.
That would be ideal. We'll see what happens. But that's why I'm saying, that's why you're saying, like, hey, the next 6 months are going to be pretty crazy. We'll see what shakes out of it.
Yeah, and whatever regulatory framework comes out, everyone, all of these these companies that have hundreds of millions or billions, they also have very high dollar financial litigators on retainer who are going to find every way to suck every penny out of this, this legislation. So it's going to be big because those people are greedy, and they want it.
Without
and
doubt.
that's who pays Congress, really, for real about it. So
Probably just tons of money waiting on the sidelines for regulatory stuff.
Yep.
oh yeah, you're probably right. I'm excited about the potential framework coming out of Congress for crypto over this next administration, right? I don't care about the politics either way. All I'm saying is the only thing I'm caring about is crypto frameworks and legislation. That way everybody has clear and concise rules to follow. As soon as that happens, it's going to be takeoff.
Yeah, exactly.
I hope you guys can hear me okay now. But yeah, one of the other things is U.S.-based company, right? So if you have an LLC for mining, maybe you get you don't get capital gains on that.
Yeah, exactly. Which would be huge. It'd cause more mining in the U.S. for sure. Hey guys, I unfortunately am getting a headache from the lights, so I'm gonna call it a little bit earlier than usual tonight. But I appreciate everybody jumping in and chatting and joining. And like I said, it's gonna be a couple weeks before I see you again. I'm going out of town, but I'll be around, and I'll still put out some tweets and updates. And like I said, I'm gonna meet with Hans here in the next day or two. We're gonna resync, and so I'll make sure that everybody's aware of what comes of that. And then I'll see you again here in a few weeks. So with that, hope everybody has a good night, and onwards and upwards. See you later.
Thanks.
Good night,
man. Have
guys.
fun.
Later, guys. Thank you.
Take care.